I'm going to open this meeting of the Wareham Finance Committee for Wednesday, August the 13th, 2014. Mr. Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
We have the roll call. Who's present? I'm going to, the names.
Okay, Marilyn Jordan.
Joan Fons.
Tom Worthen.
Jeff Langen.
Donna Brock.
Bonnie Catulli. Do we have any citizens' participation? There are only citizen in the room. Okay, going on to business.
Who's next?
We're going to want to open a discussion up for our approach to the 2016 budget. When we met with the joint committees, it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a lot was said back and forth about last year's approach and it not working, and so I kind of want to get an idea from just this committee what your thoughts are for 2016. Do we want to, again, try to educate the town and go for a override budget or a secondary budget, a balanced budget and then an override budget? Or do you want to more focus on just getting a balanced budget and cutting costs? You know, but we understand what's going to happen there. We're going to be cutting services. We're going to be making a lot of adjustments. So I thought it was important for this committee to have that open discussion amongst ourselves as to what sort of approach we would like to take when we look at the town administrator's budget. It is going to be his budget, but I think it's important that we give him some guidance as to what our opinion is about the future. So I'm going to open the floor for discussion, and I will drop protocol as long as everybody can be reasonable and no shouting at each other. Okay? Who would like to speak?
I don't have a problem. My feelings are that we should continue to educate and...
Excuse me, you gotta turn on some of those mics.
Okay.
It's on. It's off. There you go.
My opinion is that we have to continue to educate the public. I think they're going to feel this crunch, and they're going to see this crunch and realize, hey, we're not being, they're not using scare tactics. We've got a reality here. But I think that we need to really be careful and pick and choose what we're going to support. And I would go for a debt exclusion and on individual basis. That way we're not losing everything. And when the school roof had to be fixed, boy, those kids got together and they came in and we had a really good pamphlet to pass out to everybody, and we could justify what we were doing. This time, everybody kind of laid low. Not everybody, because there were some people out there pounding the sand, but people were scared because they were going to have to live with an override forever. So it's only my opinion, for what it's worth. That's the way I would like to see it be approached, but.
Well, I think it would be, I agree, we need to educate people, and I mean really educate them. I mean, we have to do more with the newspapers, we have to do more with the website. We have to really make people understand what's happening. But before that, we have to understand what's happening. And we've asked for contracts, to see the contracts. And not that I want to get down to these nitpicking little things, but I would like to see an overview of the contracts, all the contracts in this town, so that we have a really broad scope to look at. When we get the budget, we get it from the town administrator, but it's totals. I would like to see line items. Granted, some of these things are in perpetuity. We can't change contracts. I'm well aware of that. I'm also well aware that we're only advisory. But being advisory, who are we supposed to be advising? not only the powers that be, but the residents. And I think next year for an override or even a debt exclusion is a little early, because I think they're already stinging from this one. You know, I go back to the fact, like the neighborhood that I come from and Joan come from, those people are still reeling from an $18,000 betterment. I mean, people they just don't have it. But they need to understand why we're in this position, and I think that was a very good argument that both Larry and Marilyn made with respect to how we got here to begin with, the fact that the property is valued so low in this town. I mean, that may change a little bit with the new, this is the evaluation year, but we have to let people know this. I mean, they're not stupid, and I don't think we're stupid. I think we just want to look at everything that we have in front of us instead of just trusting, because obviously the citizens don't trust us. It's blatantly obvious, and we have to build the trust. And the only way to build trust is to go out amongst them and say to them, this is what we have. This is what this well, we can't tell them the contracts, because I guess Derek keeps telling me there is a, whatever. You can't blurt that all out. But we can look at it and we can discuss it. We don't have to, any information that is supposed to be confidential, we're not going to be blabbing it all over town. I think people, especially the powers that be, look at us as the enemy. And even the school committee and the Board of Selectmen sometimes look at us as the enemy. Or at least maybe they look at me as the enemy. But I just think we need to have more information, and we don't always get it in a timely fashion, and I think that has to be corrected as well. We can't get it 5 minutes before we come here. We have to get it at least a week so we can do some of our own research.
And when you talk about contracts, first off, any contract that's settled, it's public information.
Okay, so I've asked for it for a year,
right,
Bonnie,
but anything
and
under
no one's ever
negotiation.
given it to me.
He has. He's done a couple of years ago when the first contracts that Derek was settling, he did give us that information, what was negotiated and things like that. So that can be gotten for you. That can be gotten available. Is more concern. I'm not sure.
My concern is that I think we should just deal with a very balanced budget.
Mm-hmm.
As make what recommendations we can, and I wouldn't get sidetracked looking to try and do another override, because I don't think it's going to be successful.
Okay. As far as contract and salaries and things like that, I do want to follow through with doing comparisons. It was something that was brought up between a meeting with the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, myself, and the superintendent of schools, that information is available. And I hear a lot around town, and I'm sure you all hear a lot of this. The comment is always, salaries are too high, and we're too high on the up end of, teachers aren't getting paid enough, but we've got all these administrators. I hear it all the time, and I'm sure you guys hear it too. And we want to get to the bottom of that. Is it really a rumor, or is it really true?
Right.
So we're definitely going to follow through with that sort of research and share it amongst the boards. That are we actually paying competitively for the people that we have, and are we paying too high for some of the the extras that we have? So those are all things that we're definitely want to look at, and that way when you're looking at a total, you know where the total has been built from. And sometimes budgets that I've gotten in the past have had departments broken into the actual salaries of per person. Would that be helpful for you to understand?
Yes, and I think not only the salaries, but what else goes into that department.
Okay.
And how they can pull. I know that there are some departments that generate money. I would like to see those departments that generate money, I would like to see how much money they generate.
Okay.
And where it can be used as free cash, where it can't be, where it's mandated that it only stay within that department. I would like to see that kind of a breakdown too.
All right. Who else?
I'll weigh in if you want.
Go ahead.
I'm the new kid on the block, so I have to admit, the first thing that hit me was, and looking at all the numbers, is this is a lot of mishmash. Now, it's funny because those of you with accounting backgrounds want more. I want less. I want to manage the top. And so I took the budget and I broke it down into big buckets and said, where's the money going and where's the money coming from? And for example, fixed costs, $12 million a year, currently 23% of the budget in 13, going to 32% in FY19. Why? Benefits is one thing, but the county assessment's going nuts too. I mean, more than doubling, almost doubling. Education, and I know that I'm new, but I can't for the life of me understand why the tech school budget isn't combined with the overall budget and we look at one education category. Because in this day and age, anybody who has a high school diploma is basically for the rest of their lives going to be making beds or serving coffee or doing anything else. You can't support a family with a high school diploma anymore. You either educate them to go to college or you give them a trade. And again, I've been in business and watched how things change in this state. And we don't manufacture. We manufacture the same amount of stuff now as we did 15 years ago, dollar for dollar. And basically, education ought to be preparing those kids, that's the future, basically, for better paying jobs. You want to go learn welding? You can make $100,000 a year in Ohio welding. 150 if you're really good. And there are jobs that pay that the tech school may give them. So that was another category I put. I had the police as one, maintenance as another, and everything else, which is 8% of the budget. And when I look at it, for us to make recommendations on and get down to the nitty-gritty on the 8%, for me, well, that's just my background, doesn't add any benefit because I would expect people to go do that. And I want to manage the top and say, this is really how it has to be put together. The interesting point when you go through all this stuff is next year's $600,000 shortfall is 1% of the budget. You can get through next year by just looking everybody in the eye and say, man up, cut 1%. And anybody who can't find 1% of their budget, you really got to ask, are you on top of things and can you figure things out and have you prepared for things not being ideal? Again, this is personal viewpoint, so understand that. And I know that if you come from an accounting background, just to balance my bias, I always hired one damn good accountant underneath me, and that person knew that they were the first one in the lifeboat if the ship ever went down, because you need them. So I do value all that. Income, okay, we get 67% of our income from property taxes. We get another 27% from the government. And then the fees make up 6% of that. So you kind of look at folks and say, and I think I only had a couple years of history, but if you want to educate the town, say this is what it looks like. I didn't have time to put this into graphical form, but 35% of the people are graphical or need a picture, and there was no picture presented anywhere in the spring campaign. I was kind of surprised at that because if you looked at this, you begin to say, okay, what's going on and what are the trends? Just as an aside, I was kind of shocked by this the school committee member who said that we're right at the average of Massachusetts. We are anything but.
Do you have copies of those?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we can take a look.
I didn't know whether I could hand them
Yeah,
out
no,
in
we
public
most certainly
meetings.
can.
We would love copies,
Jeff,
yeah.
what did the school
Love
committee
copies.
member say?
So,
What did the school committee member say?
We're going to take a look and
he
we'll
said
try to-
that we were an average Massachusetts town in income. And the,
Thank you.
would you like one? Okay. Are you the public now? Well, Alan, okay, I'm sitting there going, that doesn't look right to me, but let me go see if I can find some data. And this is data, the best data you can get is 1999, but then you look at the numbers. The rest of the state has gone up, but I don't think we have. But you know, on an average, 76% of the per capita income, 70% from a family viewpoint, and yet we've got 127% households relative to the rest of the state, which makes sense when you look at the manufactured home parks and other things that we have. There are a lot of people that live in, don't make a lot of money, and basically live in the most economical housing they can find. So that's the picture. So then if you're playing into that audience, you're gonna have to do an awful lot of work to bring them around to understand what it is we're talking about. From my viewpoint, spending a little bit of time with further explaining how the 5-year plan works and going back and probably adding a few years worth of history to show that we have a management team that's on top of things now. I was trying to think around, well, how could you show that? And I don't know, legal bills may have gone down because I know there were some lawsuits and everything settled that took cash. Maybe that's one way of saying that's not happening anymore. Because if it happened back here, but it's not happening now, and we're confident it isn't going to happen in the future, that's why it doesn't have to be in here. The other thing that really comes out of the 5-year budget is, yes, you can get by 1 year, but your cumulative debt, if you don't do anything, in financial 19, you've now accumulated an additional $7 million worth of debt. So that's where I start to say, even if you can find a way to do some short-term debt financing, whatever that is, you still got to pay it back. So it's still in here someplace. And that's not going to be a pretty picture unless you really go back in and say, what can I do with these major buckets in order to find the most economical way of providing these services to the town. And for me, part of our spending time, in addition maybe to, you want to do the audit checks. I see where you're coming from. Is it got credible? That's a good accountant always wants to do that. Dig in and find. No, you do. I mean, I'm not kidding. You'll be in the boat with me. So, but we also got to manage this thing at a top level and start to say, this can't go on. And the choices. I mean, somehow we got to convince the town that we've got to do some things differently in order to change this picture. And the revenue line is one of them, obviously, and at the same time to provide the confidence. I think the word was trust that we used. I thought that was an interesting discussion to go back and look at what that's going to be. So my view is the 5-year thing was on the money doing that. Maybe doing a little bit more of this is what the picture looked like before you pop with an override probably would have helped people absorb it and kind of explain what's going on, and also offering the comparative proof that when I was looking at the towns, it's interesting. The Cape towns are comparison, but there's an awful lot of them that are in Western Massachusetts. It was striking when you stood there and looked at it, and all the numbers that came up were out in Holyoke, Springfield area. I mean, around here, clearly it was Dennis. There was Yarmouth and some other ones, but there were an awful lot of them out there. I don't want to. I mean, I'm a data nut, as you'll find out, and I've got to do stuff like this for me to sit there and say, if I got my hands around this thing and really understand what's going on.
I do think you were right. We were provided the 5-year projection at the worst-case scenario, but I don't believe that actually ever really hit the public, and maybe it probably should have.
It's almost like you can be, if you present the dire situation first, then ride in with the other one. You're the white horse coming to, it's a problem. And folks have to get to the point of saying, we have to do something about this, and they weren't there.
Yeah.
And that finding a way to do that, I think, is something that we should say from our committee viewpoint. is part of the solution, is to make sure that we get that message out. We won't sell everybody, I mean, but we've got to convince enough of the folks that there is something in it for them, and it is some sacrifice, but on the other hand, it's needed. I mean, I've got neighbors, I mean, I don't want to go on and on, but neighbors, you know, well, you know, I don't want to pay for education. Fine, I look right at them and say, well, who paid for yours? That's the American contract. That's how we run. And each generation educates the following one. And enough, so.
I just want to bring Dominic up to speed. Dominic, we're having a little open discussion about the 2016 budget and what our approach should be to the 2016 budget in comparison to last year, whether we want to consensus of the finance committee as to what your opinion on the 2016 is. Do you want to go basically concentrate on getting to a balanced budget, or in approaching an override budget in the future? So the floor is open. Want to weigh in?
You know, as everyone spoke before, an override's gonna be tough. I'm not saying it cannot be done. I know that I think that if we learn from the approach we did last time and maybe change our approach or do our approach or something, besides that, I don't know. I mean, it looks bleak. I'm always the one saying, you know, rather than cut, let's make income. But of course, making income is a slower process than cutting. Mm-hmm. But you know, I don't know. I think as far as going for a new override, my opinion is it's going to take some serious thinking and some serious planning, and definitely a different approach than what we did, or what we just tried to get the other day. But I just don't know, you know, how we can go about it. The only thing that I thought, and I don't know how to approach this, would be where we are seasonal, partially a seasonal town, and we have a lot of people who own property who don't vote here. And obviously they're people who are more well off. I didn't know how to approach them, because they're not going to vote. They don't vote here. But yet they do have a lot of money, and they do have a lot of income. And the people who do vote here obviously have said, you know, they really don't want it, so we have to change our approach. And wondering how we can go about getting more income or trying to do something from the seasonal people. That would be the only, you know, I don't know how to do this. It's just something I thought of. That, you know, there are a lot of houses and there are a lot of income, but yet they don't vote. And they don't send their kids to school here. You know, I didn't know. That's just something I was weighing out of what we could do about that. It's the only input I really have on.
Tom, Joan?
No, I think this, what Jeff just presented, this is what we need to continue to educate not only the public but ourselves. Right now, to do another override, I feel that we should focus on working with the balanced budget. And continue, like I said, to educate ourselves.
We'd have to be like the Red Sox, going from last to first, to pass an override. I mean, that's just ridiculous to think that we could go out without.
Turn your mic on, Tom.
Mike.
Mike, he's green.
It mean unless you touch it, there's no work.
Donna?
We ran a very poor program to try to get it passed. You need a grassroots political campaign with phone calls and driving voters to the right voters to vote and all of those things to make it work. And we did sort of a superficial mailings and things of that nature. So the only thing that I would recommend is going after a debt exclusion for specific projects that are critical to the maintenance of what we have falling apart in front of us, just like Donna said. And then maybe in 2 or 3 years, after we've proven, or the organization has proven itself that it is managing within the income it has and predictably, then maybe you can go for an override and we can start to put some frosting on the cake. But we've got to go out and line up those things that we're going to cut for next year to get within the revenue that we can expect to have next year. And that's what our focus should be, and it should be across every part of the community and the region if we possibly can do it. We've got too many people. We're paying too much for pensions and too much for health care, so the head count's got to come down. And you either do that by privatizing or cutting and not providing the service. You got to show that you know how to manage within the revenue that you have. And our job is a surrogate for the taxpayer in this town. It's nothing more than making sure their money is being spent in the best way possible.
Well, I can't disagree with that. Jeff's analysis of a 1% cut, I've seen that done several times over the years, and sometimes it's just not always easy, especially in certain departments. When you're looking at it and putting things in certain buckets, it very simplifies it a lot. But as you get into the whole total budget, like I was explaining to Marilyn, when you're looking at these are the job positions that make up this particular department, and realizing that 1% overall, that's either cutting somebody's hours or cutting a person, okay? So I think it's going to be a difficult decision for the town administrator, as it has been probably for the past 10 years, of figuring out what key personnel they can do without. And again, going back to finding better ways of doing things. Are there departments that we can consolidate to make things better? I don't think we've really taken that approach, okay? And I'm not complaining or blaming town administrators or past town administrators or whatever. But there just has to be a better way to run town hall, all right? It is a people process. It's not like we're manufacturing something, okay? It's people service. But we seriously now have to look at a better way to run government, period. Donna?
One other way to look at that is when you ask the town administrator or somebody to work with a 1% on a $5 million segment, let's say, what you're doing is you're saying, I trust your judgment, and offer encouragement for creativity to find different ways to do things. Yes, I mean, you help them with if they have to let people go, with the pain of doing that. But the idea that we as a committee can provide a lot of guidance when we don't have our feet on the street and we're not wearing their shoes, I think the approach of going back and say, we really do trust you and we trust your judgment, but we understand that some things are going to have to be done differently. Tom's idea of I mean, one of the ways, if you're living in an economy like this, or this is your picture, you make doggone sure you don't hire anybody. The last thing you want to do is bring anybody, even replacements, everything. They're sacred, those slots, and then you find out how to organize. The other thing, when you do that, at least my experience has been, that it's amazing how people rise to the occasion. And there's always somebody who all of a sudden you didn't know they had it in them, can come and basically find new and clever ways of doing the same thing. Somebody who may be in at the job for like 20, 30 years, they know an awful lot about it, and they can tell you. They can also tell you that somewhere in our organization here, there are people generating reports, and they've been generating them for 10 years or 20 years. Nobody reads them. And part of that is going around and understanding what it is that you're doing that your recipient, your customer doesn't value anymore. And, you know, the 1%, I just bring it up because I think that, I guess my feeling is we can't do another override unless we spend a lot of time. I almost like the approach of go this one for 2 years, and there's gonna be some cuts, and there's gonna be some rearrangement, and there's some other things happening. Then the audience will be prepped. And you're presenting you keep presenting the 5 years out, so we gotta add FY20 in here. And it just keeps, you know, if you don't do this, it's getting worse and worse and worse. You follow it for 2 years. You know, you're in the hole for another $2 million. But if you can cut 1 year 1%, then the following year it's 2% that has to be cut. That gets a little harder. But maybe you've got the seeds planted with your management team that they start finding different ways to do it. I mean, I watch people go in and basically, okay, I can't hire anybody. Where can I find somebody who can fill in part-time? What can I do to outsource? And things like that. And this, I mean, we're a service organization, and understand that companies have large service organizations too, and they're made up of people. I mean, there are 3 elements of any successful business. You gotta have somebody to finance the thing. You gotta have, which is in our case is taxpayers and the state. You gotta have somebody basically willing to buy your product, that's our residents. And then you gotta have the people to deliver it, which is our people. Those 3 are important. You know, all 3 have to be managed. But I put a lot of trust in, and I really do think, Derek, if you just said, we gotta find it, and go to the, you know, the police chief and the school department. I mean, you can go.
You sit down with these town managers. I've only sat down with a couple, but, I mean, they have ideas, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
They're not necessarily in their own department, but some of them are within their own department.
Donna, you have something to say?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And I see what you're saying, cut 1% of the budget. We've been cutting and cutting and cutting. Our municipal maintenance department used to have 41 people. Our town has grown, and what do we have, 5 now?
We have 7.
7. Oh, the municipal maintenance department and a lot of the departments
But there's-
in this town, hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. They have
Sorry.
been cut to the bone. The only 2 departments that you can cut in, and do you want to risk public safety or your education? Now, I challenge anyone to go into Derek's budget, to any of these municipal conservation, harbor master, I challenge anyone to find 0.5% of waste. I think that we're extremely lucky to have the young man that is running this town, and we're extremely fortunate to have the selectmen that are in place right now. But I really think, I can understand where you're coming, but I've been sitting here watching this and being a part of this for 7 or 8 years, and the employees in this town have suffered immensely. I don't even know why some of them are here still.
So what you're describing is a death of 1,000 cuts,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
awful for morale.
Yeah.
It's probably the worst thing you could do.
And it's probably, it's in the toilet, and it's just coming back
So,
up now.
so
over the last
then,
year.
then your alternative is given this picture, because, as Dom says, I mean, he's thought about every way of raising revenue, and he can't find one where the ferry will come as, it's not fast enough. None of it's fast enough.
Make money, but not as fast as we.
Right.
Right.
All right, I'm gonna pull this back a little bit. I mean, our reason for doing this was to have an open discussion to see how everybody felt, and I really wanted you all to weigh in on that, because we have been asked to have these joint meetings again, and the last one didn't go all that well, in my opinion. So, and I'm not one to say that we have to be this loving group of three committees that go in with the solidarity and stuff like that, because it's great. We have to agree on how we go into town meeting, because I don't ever want to go back to the days of FinCom and Board of Selectmen and school committee fighting with each other on town meeting floor. Believe me, it was horrible, if anybody remembers that. But I really wanted to see how, everybody's opinion was. There's nothing that we can do about it right now, because it is the town administrator's budget. He is going to build it with his technique and his expertise, and he has to build a balanced budget. He knows that. So it will be very interesting to see what is presented to us and what sort of, capital ideas. We're going to get into that too. And what would be smart for debt exclusions, because that discussion's come up too, as to, there are many, many things, and I know, Alan, you've been to some of the recent association things where they talk about stuff you can put into debt exclusions. It doesn't mean they're good ideas. It just means that they're legal. It doesn't mean that they're good ideas, and we went through that before. So we're really gonna have to choose what we support in a really smart way, because, as you said, that debt's gonna be there and you've gotta pay it off. So you have to include that in your budget each year too. So we'll kind of drop that for now, and as I said.
One thing,
Go ahead,
when
Tom.
we ask for a budget, I think we ought to just be looking at 5 years. I just don't want to see next year. I want to see.
Right, we still want to, I think
the
that's,
horizon.
going forward, a great idea, that we present that projected 5-year out, so people
Good.
understand this is where you're gonna be today, and this is where you're gonna be in the future, definitely. That should stick right in there. By charter, we have to present the prior history, that's in there, but certainly bringing that information forward for people is a good idea. And I would save your question for that, the next time we meet with the school committee, as to why, or if even, that is included in our ratio as to what we put towards education.
That was one of those, I thought maybe there was some municipal law or whatever.
I wouldn't
but-
know, that's
but
beyond my
it just struck me
expertise.
as
I never
interesting.
asked.
Can I just,
Sure.
Donna?
Sure.
You're right. I just want to, because the other question I was going to ask is, at what point do you decide you got to do a major restructuring?
Yeah,
You got to rearrange the chairs, because this configuration is painful.
Is that mean, do you mean sitting next to me is painful? Gotta let a little humor in there.
When the boat goes down, you're, no. No, I mean, at some
Yeah,
point,
I
at some
know.
point you say, rather than, I'm fully agreeing with you, it's awful on morale to live in an environment like that.
I know.
And-
Oh, it
and you're-
is.
And
And I
then
do
we're
wonder-
better off to sit there and brainstorm with them as to what can you do to stop those cuts. And, if you can't raise the money, then you gotta find a way to rearrange how you do stuff.
But things were good for so long. And for instance, I'll throw one thing out there. Look at the post office of what they just showed they lost. $575 million in the last quarter. Now, and they blamed 3/4 of that on paying the retirees, and paying the pensions, and paying the medical. Now, this is a big outfit run by a lot smarter people than me, and they're having the same problem we have. And years ago, I remember when municipal maintenance did everything in the town. And is it really, does everyone really looked at it and said it's because of people are living longer, we're paying more retirees, medical insurance? Are those two things that drastic
Yes.
to where
Yes.
it's not only blowing Wareham out of the water,
Everything.
blowing a place like the post office out of the water, blowing, we had to do the, all the car industry, the government had to help them, the bank. Is that what's sinking this whole ship? If it is, then this is a greater problem than we can.
Still gotta solve it.
Yeah, but can we solve it at
Sure
our
we can.
level?
Sure we can.
No, can we solve it at our level?
We can't solve
We
that
got it.
problem.
I
We
mean,
gotta
here,
live with it,
that's why we're
Yes.
here. But that's part of the fun of this thing.
we're gonna try, let's put it that way.
I can think of a lot more things than fun, like a root canal. This is like a root canal.
All right, let's focus. We could go on like this all night. All right, back to a little structure.
You remember this about the people.
Liaison assignments. I talked about this a few weeks ago. Kelly has provided me with a list of what we have traditionally been liaison assignments to. 2 committees are mandatory that a FinCom member sit on. One is capital planning and one is community events. David Hurd was on capital planning, and you feel like David would like to continue
I think he's
with
gonna
that?
stay, I think he said he would like to
Okay,
stay.
I'm gonna leave that one alone, and Joan, you would like to continue with the
Continue, absolutely.
community events, we will leave that one alone. So those two are our mandated that we're taking care of. Am I correct? That's the only two mandated, right? I believe so. Okay. There are some top priority, liaison assignments that can be difficult at times. The first one being the school committee, because of the fact that the school committee meets on the same nights that we do, okay? So that liaison, it does require them to either review school committee, where you want?
Put two people on it and alternate presence every other week, if that's the only way we can do it. Without scheduling without changing the schedule.
That's a great idea.
How do you guys feel
That's a
like
great
that?
idea. I think that's a great idea.
Do you think it's important that they be at all school committee meetings?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, I know zero about $27 million of this budget,
Really?
because, I mean, Mike is a good guy, and I'm sure he does careful work and all of that sort of stuff. But the other part of it is, how good a job are they doing at educating of the new approaches to education, and are we staying on top of it, and what's the turnover rate of teachers, and all of that sort of stuff that we should,
I agree with you
to get a
100%,
sense of
Tom.
what's happening there.
Okay, so who is very interested in school committee?
Well, can I weigh in on one thing real quick?
But-
Upper Tech has asked me to,
I've heard of that.
run for the school committee, for them, so maybe I should probably try to weigh in a little on the school committee, maybe. Talking to me, Bob? Yeah, I can turn it on. I don't like microphones, you know that. So maybe, I'll step up and be one of them if you want
Okay.
to. Because I gotta, be involved a little bit more in the school committee if I'm gonna do that job, okay?
All right, that's one. We have a second person who would like to be involved?
I'll do it.
Marilyn Jordan? Now you'll have to coordinate with Dominic, and Dominic does not email.
That's right, I'll go down to the store.
Okay.
Drive them nuts.
The cell phone number's wrong too, I'll give it to you, honey,
Okay.
on this paper. I don't wanna give it out, so I get all these
Nope, I
beautiful
don't
women
blame you.
calling me at night.
All right, I would like
the
to be the
husbands you gotta
direct
worry about.
liaison to the town administrator myself. Is that agreeable with the committee?
Yes.
That's appropriate.
Thank you. I would like to assign Donna to be liaison to the Board of Selectmen, please.
Okay.
It's not actually on your list, but I think it should be appropriate. Thank you. All right, now, the other two big, would be the police and the municipal maintenance. I believe, Tom, were you on the police before?
Yeah, yes, I was. I
Okay,
did,
I
I
mean, it
did.
doesn't mean regular visits, you don't gotta go shake him down or anything.
No, I'd be glad to. It just was very difficult to get information out of
Well,
from the
yeah, any.
town manager, really, town administrator.
Town administrator, okay, because
The
anything,
the police department was very forthcoming.
yeah,
but
any
That was-
information, and I'll say this for Jeff's benefit, as a liaison, any information that you, besides attending their meetings and things like that, if you're on that sort of committee, but any information you require from a department, that information request has to go through the town administrator first. Okay, just so everybody understands that or remembers that. So Tom's gonna stay with the police. What else did I say? Oh, municipal maintenance. Who would like to do that?
I don't have a problem. I'd actually, it's kind of, how many people work a full day too? some of them are gonna be hard to be with.
Yeah.
Unless you can, some of these are difficult to work with, unless you can, you have a flexible schedule that you can get up and down there with them.
How often do they meet?
Good, oh, you go over there.
You
and-
go over there, you
and-
go over to,
Anytime, is that it?
well, no, you call and make an appointment, and,
You go and ride the snowplows and stuff?
Yeah,
It's fun pulling the horn.
I certainly don't
I'd like
mind
that.
it. But if someone else is looking to do it, I don't have a problem doing it.
Well, I mean, some of these aren't absolutely necessary, I don't think. Although I had a question about the audit committee because Larry said he was, was Larry a citizen at large now on the audit committee? I need a member for the audit committee. I need a member for the audit committee.
That should be you.
Jeff, you're on the audit committee.
Yeah,
I'm not the
that's a good one. That's a
Huh?
good experience for you, Jeff.
I've done it at a company.
All right, so that takes care of that. I thought there was one other one that had to have a person.
When does the audit
Well,
committee
can I ask you a
meet?
question?
Go ahead.
The school committee, their meetings are televised, correct?
Mm-hmm,
So they play them over and over and over?
right.
Yep,
So actually, if we missed them, if we weren't there present meeting, you can actually watch it that
you
way.
can watch them,
Absolutely, you
yes.
can.
Okay.
But you're not there to ask
And-
questions. It's up to
No,
you
I
whether you have
understand that. I
specific
understand that.
questions.
If you can, maybe you can still know
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
And you can also request if you know anybody down at the
You
TV
can walk into the
station,
schools.
they might give you a disc that you can take them, take the disc home and, down the shop when you're doing nothing, Dominic.
Or the girls do it for me.
Yeah, oh, no, you have to do it yourself.
But it isn't just going to the meeting, it's going and
No, I understand. I just asked a question, that's all. I just asked to see.
find out where the attractive teachers are and stuff.
No, I just wanted to know.
All right,
if
that's
you did miss a
enough.
meeting.
Yep,
If
that's
you did miss
gotta
a meeting,
stop.
if you could see it, see what they were doing.
Okay, as I'm
Handsome
looking down
creature,
this
excuse me.
list, I think a CETA representative is important because of all the things that have been coming down with CETA lately. Actually, I think that would probably be a good backup for you, Joan,
I was thinking that, yeah.
because you already have somebody that you're dealing with regularly. Just to keep on top of some of the issues that come up.
Mhm.
Police lieutenant.
Madam Chairman?
Yep.
Did I end up with the maintenance or not?
You just did.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
Okay, done.
You open your mouth, you got it.
Will you let us know what you're gonna be?
As far as, some of these situations, like the library, you're not gonna hear anything but bad news. Some of the department heads and things like that, I really don't see a point in having a liaison to that, I just don't get the point. Certainly any information from that, that should come through the town administrator anyway. The only other big one would probably be EMS, and I know that, who's done that? Dominic's done that before, right? Haven't you done EMS before? I think really that should go in conjunction with the police.
Or you want the capital planning?
I'll do EMS.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think you're handling, if you handle both, it's really,
Is the assessors on that thing? I mean,
yes, it is.
who's doing that?
Nobody at this point.
And what do they meet, or how do they, I don't
They
even know.
don't, they're just department heads, and this is why I'm trying to break it down. Like when Larry did it last year, he picked the most important departments and made sure the ones that we had to have mandated people on, and the largest departments that we might have our most questions about. The rest really are all the other boards and department heads, really. I mean, do we need a liaison to IT department?
No.
No.
Okay. So you're looking at library, treasurer, collector, inspectional department, assessors, media, council on aging, board of health, veterans, disabilities, planning and zoning, IT department, town clerk, harbor master, and accounting. Those are just departments.
Madam Chairman?
Go ahead.
I think it's very important that we keep a liaison with the Board of Health.
Okay.
I truly do, because,
you've gotta use the mic.
The Board of Health, there's,
Board of Health?
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman, I think that we should have a liaison with the Board of Health. That department is really cranking out the work right now, and they're doing well. They're making money for us.
Okay.
And I think to have someone from our committee be supportive with them, they would appreciate it. They would appreciate it, is basically what I think.
Okay.
And I think it's one of the most well-run departments. However, I think they're under a considerable amount of stress.
They've had a lot of income last year.
They certainly have, but they've had a lot of expenses too, doing those inspections.
Yeah, they had the housing inspection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we have someone who wants to spearhead that?
I wouldn't mind doing that, because I
Okay.
enjoy working with them. I truly do. And then don't let me open my mouth again.
It's not enough,
No. What the hell?
Okay, I think that's a good place for you, because you can certainly do both of those together, and
Yep,
and
exactly.
you'll be at regular meetings
Right.
and for the Board of Selectmen anyway. I don't see a priority in the others, except maybe the harbor master.
He's very accessible. I mean, he could.
Yeah, he is.
He would come in and can update the whole.
He's awesome,
Yeah.
too. He's absolutely awesome.
I mean, I left myself at his disposal, and he never needed me for anything, so.
My dad did inspectional services last year, but they had too many ideas of making money, he didn't want to listen to.
Okay, I think we covered up, what, are you talking to me, darling?
I said I did inspectional services last year, so I don't know if I want to do it this year.
Okay.
They didn't like my ideas of making too much money.
Okay, I think we covered our top priorities on that. And anything else, any other inquiries that we need to make throughout the year, we can go through the TA for department heads or things like that.
Did you do assessors? I mean, is it?
No, I didn't. What was your priority with assessors?
You like assessors.
Huh?
You like assessors.
Well, I mean, they're out there trying to raise $35 million,
That's
by
true.
hook or crook, so it'd be nice to see how it works. I don't know. I'm
Okay, we want to give those to David?
sure, that's not a bad, that's a good idea, as a matter of fact.
Very good.
That's a very good idea.
All right, so he'll have 2 assignments.
Gentleman to my right only has one.
He's also the clerk, and he's trying to learn it well.
Oh, okay.
Ask the real clerk how she liked my notes.
How about Jeff Tufts? Have you got him in doing
I
anything?
don't, and that's going to come up for discussion under something else, because I have a concern. Okay, but let's move on to that. Are we good with that? Let's follow our plan here, and then we'll get to that in a minute. Review of town meeting calendar and dates. I unfortunately was not properly informed by the constable of the voted on dates, because the constable went to Larry McDonald's house instead of me. So, but I did get it, so it's fine. So you're looking at, in your packet, the calendar of dates that the selectmen have voted on. And it's gonna be crunch time as usual. I've already received 1 copy of a warrant article, and Kelly's gonna forward some of them to me as they come in processed, and then we'll decide which ones we need to bring, before us as they come in. I think that'll be a lot easier. I have one here which concerns inspectional services, so that should be interesting. Excuse me. Yep. So town meeting is going to be October the 27th. And Kelly is so clever, she's attached the calendar
That is awesome.
going forward of our deadline dates. So, let's see, we've got September the 15th. Oh, August 15th, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. you know, yeah, petition articles, so that's this Friday, right?
Well, this Friday is for town departments.
Town departments,
committees,
yep.
Those articles.
And then, 29th will be posting of the warrant.
Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
you
have
got
to write
7
that, I
to
don't
12.
write that on there.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's the 29th of this month?
Yep,
That doesn't
Posting.
really, we don't have to do that,
No.
that doesn't
yeah,
apply to us.
that's good.
Okay.
September 12th is the last for petition articles to be inserted, that's always fun. And then warrant closes on the 16th. So, Kelly, you've got it penciled in, FinCom to receive the warrant on September the 17th, the day
Usually
after.
get it the day after.
You know, we usually get a draft copy,
Mhm.
and if it's marked draft, that means, don't take it literally, because things can change. All right, so that gives us, what, 3 weeks. Fall isn't really usually too bad. It's mostly cleanup of stuff from the spring. So I don't anticipate it being terribly long, but one never knows. Okay, so you might as well count on being here. Anybody have a problem with Rosh Hashanah? No, just checking. So we will be meeting on the 17th of September, the 24th, October the 1st, and October the 8th. So you might as well just plan on that.
Those 4 of them, okay.
Yep. Gonna leave a note on that. Okay.
Madam Chairman, are you going to meet with the town moderator and the town administrator as they're putting these together?
I will certainly be trying to. I want to check on something, because there was also talk about having another group meeting the week of the 18th or the 25th. I don't really see that, that's,
Of August?
yeah.
Of August?
Yeah,
Thought they decided on the 20th.
that's what yeah, I think you're right now.
They decided on what?
The
20th.
August 20th, next week.
Okay. When did they decide on that, after I left?
No, well, maybe, I don't know, that was the last, when we had the joint meeting, they came up with the 20th.
Okay. To meet on our night, on our regular night?
Thought that's what they said. think
Okay,
she
I wasn't aware of
Yeah.
that, I must have left it before that.
Is that right?
There is a 20th, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I guess we're meeting next week as well.
So we heard it is the 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I wasn't aware of that. I'll have to,
That's okay, I just want to make sure that,
did you have that down as the 20th? Okay. I just wrote the 18th or the 25th because it was a Monday. That was what I put in my notes, but I'll... All right, so as we get the warrant, I know some of you only done this once, some of you have never done this, some of us have done this too many times. As we get them in, I will try to talk to Kelly about specific ones that I think need to appear before us before that 8th date. I mean, that's 3 weeks. So we're not gonna have a lot of time to meet with these people if it's something, significant. But we'll try to get as many of them in as possible, especially any that are mandated that have to see us, which I won't know until I see what the warrants are. As far as meeting between getting the warrant And the joint meeting, I don't see a point in that. Does anybody see a point in that?
Only if something came out of the joint meeting
Okay,
that warranted our attention before we got into the
Okay.
working on a warrant.
are we in agreement on that? Because there's nothing really we can do before we have that warrant. All right, so we'll plan on the 20th joint meeting and then not meeting again until the warrant is presented to us on the 17th. Agreed?
Unless we make a meeting on the 20th afterwards.
Right,
I think
unless
it's
there's a
necessary.
reason for calling a second meeting.
All right, so we meet next week, and then if not, the 17th. I gotcha.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Excuse me, one question. Is it 6:30 next week? Is that the normal time for joint meetings like this?
All right. One other thing, and that is Mr. Worthen, I believe it was, who had asked about having regular updates from the capital planning. So in your packet is an updated version of the capital plan. And they have promised, it looks like we've got like shaded areas where adjustments have been made. I'm not exactly sure. They have promised to give us at least quarterly updates on this, as to what's being worked on, what's being accepted. And I think, going forward into the 2016 budget, yeah, we're gonna need to know this and what's a major priority if we're gonna do any sort of debt exclusions. All right, so that is for your reading enjoyment, so you can keep updated on that. They have said that they would be more than happy to meet with us if required, but at this point, I think that's really all we wanted from them was some sort of regular updates.
In this handout, the shaded ones are the things that they have started to do, is that correct?
I'm not positive, is there a,
It looks like,
On the bottom, it says shaded
Okay,
and
sorry.
override request.
oh, I see.
1 star is funded, not completed. 2 stars approved and
is-
not funded. Shaded in
Oh.
override request.
thank you.
That was
Sorry.
the override that didn't go
Yes, it didn't
through.
go through.
That's not getting done. Okay.
Okay,
No.
Thank you, Tom.
With asterisks and 2 asterisks.
yeah, those were the things that were requested in the override, but that failed.
And I love this number. Town department total, 61.2 million. Yeah, I love that number.
I mean, they said on the blue book we got from Power Sullivan that we went $5.5 million in debt on what we have to pay for the pensions
Yeah.
last year. And we were looking for $4.5 million. I mean, somehow we've got to get it all out there so we understand what we can do and what we're just blowing smoke at.
True. All right, any other business, and I'm gonna bring up one thing because it was mentioned here, and that is the situation with Mr. Jeff Tufts. Has anybody had any correspondence with Mr. Tufts?
Jeff has been very involved with the gateman, whose season is over.
Okay, is
I-
he planning on returning in
I-
full-time?
I will see him maybe tomorrow night, and I'll ask him. I hope he is. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know that he isn't.
I'm just really concerned because, I mean, we got an email that he hasn't picked up his papers. I'm not sure what that is because,
While you're on the subject of email, will you tell us the magic as to how you get the emails forwarded to your
Personal?
personal email address?
I don't have the foggiest clue.
Well, didn't you say you,
Wareham.
yours is attached to your?
Yeah, but
Mine used
they
to
go
be
into the
attached to,
town
oh, no,
thing, and
people
then
used
they
to
just-
copy
if
me
you
at
don't
both
go and
email
look in the
sites. They
town
don't
thing, you never
anymore.
see it.
I stopped it. But that's just, what Kelly has to do is insert CC your private emails, okay? My concern is everybody is given a Wareham official email site. That is because that's for open meeting law, all right, that they're trackable, so no discussions can be made. If you would like, it still needs to go to that site.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Yeah.
If you want them also to be printed to your private email, she needs to CC your private email at the same time.
And, yeah, I spoke with, who's it?
Mark?
No, who's the young, who's the fellow, IT guy?
Mark?
Matt,
Matt Underhill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, over there. Matt, and he was great. I mean, he was great, you know, he'll walk you through if you're having a problem getting it to the town, or me, I just like it going to my regular one.
yeah.
Is that right?
Should we not do it?
Well, if you respond,
The finance committee has to have their own email accounts, and anything to do with the town has to go through them.
Yeah.
If you're putting stuff through that's town business on your private email, you're responsible for any problems that occur with it.
Right.
Well, at least if we give it told, it said that there's been a drop in the town, your
Yeah.
town email box so that you can go do it. But, I mean, it isn't something I go to on a regular basis.
Well, yeah, you see, I have to remind myself to actually go there. But I like having my email divided into whatever realm I'm in at the time, because I've got a lot of realms.
The other piece is, too, all emails that get sent to the town, when you open up, the town has a record of you see.
Right, that's what I mean, it's trackable.
If you do anything personally, that's not gonna happen.
No, it won't. And that's the only reason, is that if you reply for some reason, if you need to reply, you should reply all. And if that reply all will come back to your regular, it will even send it back to your town email site, okay? I don't always do that with, you know, Kelly asks me a question back and forth, I'm just replying to her, I have no problem with that. But when we are actually, are you gonna be at a meeting or something like that, you really should hit back reply all. That way it's tracked, everything, and if you're gonna do that from your regular email site, then you're covered, because it's gonna go back to everybody at the same time.
They just go to Verizon and NSA and they can find out what the hell you were doing anyway.
Right, right. Okay, that was my only concern, was to definitely get a commitment from Jeff that he is going to return and
I
sit
will
regularly.
ask him, and then I will email you or call you and tell you what the result of that is.
I just feel like this is probably the first time in, well, last year was the first time I sat with 9 people. For so many years before that, we were always 1 or 2 light here and there. And it does make a huge difference, especially when you get into the meat of the work and the vote and the discussion. It really is important for a member to be active. And he has been absent, and that really concerns me. So if he's gonna make a commitment to be here, then definitely, we would definitely like to see him participate.
Isn't there a law, it was 3 in a row or something, am I wrong?
It can, and that's what, it was brought to my attention.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to address it, as to whether he was going to stay or whether he chooses not to have interest.
Right, no, I just
So,
thought there was a law.
there is.
3 in a row without excuse reasons, Mark, as well.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Al.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the way it should be. That's exactly the way it should be. I mean, we're one of the busiest committees in the town, and if a person signs on, they should be here.
Any other business?
Oh, no, okay, I'll wait till you get to the minutes.
Okay, approval of meeting minutes for July the 9th.
I have a problem, Madam Secretary, with the minutes.
Okay.
Um,
Good night.
Good night. If you look at the meeting minutes, where is it? Okay.
Page 2,
Okay, it is page 2. Okay,
line 3, 4.
Very good. Mrs. Bronk seconded the nomination for Mrs. Bronk. I'm not that good.
We can put up with one of you, but not 2 of you.
Oh, come on, Tom.
I could take 100 of them.
Thanks, baby.
Yeah, boy. I love you.
Yeah, that's all.
Oh, you have to
That's
check
all.
who it is?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, well, we'll put that aside. All right, so we have decided our next meeting is going to be the August the 20th for a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, correct? 6:30, this room.
You might want to have a short meeting after that to see what if there was any consensus or any sense that we ought to be doing something.
Yeah, we can definitely adjourn to another room or do that, that's fine.
It's a good idea, Tom.
Yeah, because everybody kind of dispersed afterwards, and I felt like tensions were high and feelings weren't all that great at that moment. Yeah, that was all right. All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. All right, that was good.
Hey, Bob, can you turn the